Here we are again, Hudson County View, live and uncut. I'm John Arhidis, and as promised, we are here with two reps from New York Waterway. Donald and Jennifer, could you just introduce yourselves quickly for our guests?
Sure. My name is Donald Eloya. I'm with New York Waterway, Vice President. Nice to meet you, John.
Yes, great to have you guys.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And I'm Jennifer Shuck, Communications for New York Waterway.
All right, great to have you as well, Jennifer. So, obviously, this is a conversation we could probably do an hour on, but we're going to do about 15, 20 minutes. So I guess first things first, this week, you guys, I'm sure, heard there were 13 environmental groups that wrote a letter to Tammy Murphy. This letter was actually a month old, but it just hit the public domain this week. And they basically said that we don't think this refueling maintenance and ferry facility is fit for you to dry dock and so on and so forth. So this is something that we've heard from some environmentalists and from some city officials before. So just what are your thoughts on this latest development here?
Well, we obviously don't agree with the content of the letter. I'm not quite sure who the 13 groups are. Some of them are unknown to us. But, we feel that Union Dry Dock is the right place, obviously, for a maintenance facility. It's been a shipyard for over 130 years, and from an environmental standpoint, we think it's really the best spot. I mean, it's an existing facility, it's deep water, it has the piers, it has everything you need to simply move in and start your operation. I saw the letter. I think a lot of the information in the letter is incorrect, frankly, flat out misrepresenting the facts. So we're happy to talk about that if you wish.
Sure. What do you think was misleading or erroneous in that account from those groups?
Well, I think the way they represent the New Jersey Transit facility and the permits that were acquired for that, I was intimately involved in that permit process. They suggested that we could berth 18 boats there, but actually the permit was only for 6. And if you really look at the documents, our ability to maintain our fleet there is very constrained. And in fact, that permit for that facility was issued at a time when the company was really half the size. Since 2009, New York Waterway has doubled the size of its fleet through an acquisition of another ferry company. So Union Dry Dock has really been on our radar for many years. So
at least a decade.
Oh, easy.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been with the company 20 years. We've been looking at it at least that long.
Okay, very good. So now we've heard from Mayor Ravi Bala and again other city officials, and they're talking about the Lackawanna terminal as the optimal location for this refueling site. So why do you guys disagree that that is actually the best location in Hoboken or anywhere else?
Well, I think first and foremost, you can't get the fuel to the boats at New Jersey Transit. Our access is very, very limited. There really is no upland area for us to service our boats. You would probably, to get the equivalent space, have to build about a 2 or 3 acre pier at the Erie Lackawanna terminal, which in itself is a historic building. Mm-hmm. I think from an environmental standpoint, that's a very heavy lift to get that pier approved. And then you'd have to go through the State Historic Preservation Office, whether or not it's actually consistent with their goals for the building. So there's a lot of work, and I don't think it would be readily accomplished.
All right, so we've obviously seen the renderings of this project, and I don't know how many people have. I mean, obviously it's out there, but for the people that just aren't familiar with what the vision is, could you just explain to us how this looks from your perspective and why this is not going to, infringe on the property, the homes, the lives, whatever, of Hoboken residents, as some people have indicated that they feel it may? Well,
I think first and foremost, they represent it as a heavy refueling facility. And that's just incorrect. It's just not true. It's that simple. Our plans to store fuel there, we do plan to store fuel there, but it'd be less than 30,000 gallons. And I would suggest that the gas station on the corner of 19th Street in Hoboken probably has twice that many gallons of fuel stored. I would actually think that the boats that are in the neighborhood, not far north of us, probably have more fuel stored in them than we would store on the facility. So first and foremost, that is just a misrepresentation. It's not a heavy fueling facility.
And
so
it's not going to be in the water either, the fuel. A lot of people think that the fuel is going to be in the stored in the water.
No, the fuel will be stored inside a building in double containments, and yet inside yet another containment system, fully functional for today's regulations.
All right, and how many boats do you think will pass through on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis?
Well, it varies. We store a lot of boats out in the field.
Sure.
I think the permits that we have in hand, and we do have permits in hand. We have permits from the Army Corps, and we have permits from New Jersey DEP that would permit us to move in tomorrow. In fact, we'll be in court on July 26th. Hopefully the judge will validate our opinion that we have the right to move in and start operating. The application showed that at most 20 slots for boats, but it varies during the course of the day.
Okay, got it. So now obviously you just mentioned that this is still tied up in litigation, relatively new litigation, but despite that fact, Mayor Bala, as you're aware, has called for, again, an eminent domain process. So your take on that?
Well, we think he's misguided, obviously. We haven't really had the opportunity to present the plan to the city of Hoboken. Once we had acquired the land, we went to the mayor, spoke with him directly. In fact, at that meeting, he assured us we would have the opportunity to hold a charrette with the neighborhood so they could understand what it is we wanted to build and what it was that they were interested in.
Like a public neighborhood here.
A public neighborhood, but we never had that opportunity. And frankly, shortly thereafter, we were in the process of being condemned. But we did our due diligence. The land is appropriately zoned. It's been an active facility for 130 years. It was never part of the city's open space plan, at least not until after we bought it. It's not the only remaining piece of waterfront that's not a park. I mean, you simply got to go south a few blocks and Stevens Institute has its maintenance facility on the waterfront.
No, that's true. So
I guess, as Donald was saying before, is that we weren't given the opportunity to present to the citizens of Hoboken, but we've been trying to do that ourselves as much as possible to get the word out about our side. We attended the Hoboken Street Festival where we got a lot of questions and we're able to answer a lot of questions. We've had our community development team out there in Hoboken, with a table offering some information just so people can get more aware about what we're talking about here. And opportunities like this is a wonderful thing for us. We are going to have some information sessions coming up, and of course you can go to NYWW.com/thetruth where you can find out more information about our site and about upcoming informational sessions. But just because Donald was talking about that before, I just wanted to point that out.
Sure. So on that point, do you know offhand when the next session is?
It should be coming at the end of July. Probably around the week of the 22nd or so. So I would just, we're going to be giving out some more information through our website about that, but I would definitely watch for that, updates and information on when we're going to be out there. But we encourage anybody really just to ask us questions. We get a lot of response on social media, but it's never really, it's more critical and attacking on us than anything else. You know what I'm saying?
On social media?
Yeah, and we're really open. As Donald said, we're really open to answering questions for people, and that's why we will be holding these informational sessions, hopefully at the end of July, and people come out and really ask some, questions that and not just attacking questions on us or things like that. I know in that letter to Tammy Murphy, the mayor was saying that we're attacking the city council. I don't see that at all. And I know that Tammy Murphy has seen Mr. Imperator in his rare form because we were participating in a July 4th celebration. On the 4th of July, Mr. Imperator came down wearing his, World War II veteran hat, sitting on the side of the parade with his wife, waiting for the parade to come by. Tammy Murphy saw him, came up, thanked him for his service, unaware of who he was. So, and he introduced himself, and she saw him as rare form as a patriot, as someone who's supportive of his family and of his company and of the community, and that's really who he is.
Interesting. So we're not done. We're going to talk a lot more New York Waterway and Union Dry Dock, but we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. And we're back, Hudson County View, live and uncut, and we are still talking about Union Dry Dock with a couple representatives from New York Waterway. So we were just discussing a little bit about Tammy Murphy and Arthur Imperator just recently had an encounter, totally independent of this issue.
Right.
And you were just telling us that he was thanked for his service, and do they have any prior relationship before that meeting?
No, I mean, I get, we of course have, spoken with the governor, but not Tammy Murphy herself that I'm aware of. But she had just seen a veteran, a World War II veteran, sitting on the side of a parade, came up to thank him for his service, which I thought was wonderful that she acknowledged him as a veteran.
Sure.
And she saw really who he is, what he's about. And he really is about community, he's about family, he's about supporting his company and the employees. And this is what Union Dry Dock is about. It's about the employees and the 35,000 customers that we move a day. So the facility is since I came to Waterway, almost 6 years ago, one of the things that I walked in the door, he said to me, I got to get them out of that work area. They deserve better. They needed bigger space. They're doing an amazing job, but I want to do better for them. This is for the employees, and this is for the commuters that these boats are maintained for. So Mr. Imperator, I think that he's been mischaracterized himself, attacked in the social media and by the mayor himself. about being a bully, and that's really, really far from what he is. And I was saying how we were at, as we speak right now, we have a school group singing at our terminal, and a lot of times the community groups out there are talking about the kids. Well, if you want to talk about kids, like I said, right now we have a school group singing at the terminal.
But I think we'll really talk about the specifics of the facility.
Sure.
And if you look at the renderings and you look, it's a major investment on our part, a major cleanup of the site. Again, the misrepresentations, the flat out untruths that the facility needs to be dredged. It doesn't need to be dredged. It's a deep water facility. That the upland is contaminated. It's not contaminated. It's been studied several times. There's been 3 environmental analyses done on the site. It's actually remarkably clean for a facility of that nature. So our ability to move in, improve the site, and make it part of the historic working waterfront that existed in Hudson County for decades, if not centuries, is right at our fingertips. And we can do it. And we need, really, for the people of Hoboken to understand what it is we're prepared to bring there. And I would suggest to you and to the mayor and to the council that if these were 15 100-foot yachts that were going to be stored at that facility, we would not be having this conversation today. And it's only because it's being misrepresented as to the nature of the work and the nature of the facility that's going to be built there. And if you look at the renderings and you look at the building and our improvements, I think it's not only an improvement, but a very nice addition to the waterfront. The cove that's adjacent to the facility will be protected. The people that go in the water in that cove will be protected.
Right. We've heard a lot of parents say that they're afraid that if this project comes, their kids won't be allowed to use the cove, no more paddleboarding and all that stuff. So,
No,
obviously, could you elaborate on what your plan is for the cove?
Well, the first thing, we propose to give them more area to use in the cove. We propose to build a pier with a wave attenuator that would prevent any activity that's occurring inside the maintenance facility to impact the cove. I think, you also need to be clear. I mean, they represent it as if it's the last piece of pristine Hudson waterfront. It was actually a coal tar transfer point up until probably the early 2000s when Maxwell was being built and the piers were demolished. So the cove is relatively new, but we understand that. We understand our obligations. We're prepared to work with the community. I suggest to people that are so vocal against us, go take a look at our facilities at Battery Park City, which is in a park, at 39th Street in Midtown Manhattan, which is in a park, at our terminal in Weehawken, which is part of the Esplanade, has been integrated into our operation. It can be accomplished, but it can't be accomplished if all you're going to do is spread untruths about our operation and what it is we propose to build there. And I find it ironic, I was sitting at a council meeting and a woman got up to speak and why we should not be allowed to move forward. And her comment was, I want to be able to walk my dog with an unimpeded view of Manhattan. So you have to weigh. You have to weigh the factors. Is walking your dog with an unimpeded view of Manhattan more important than good working class jobs and the ability to support a transportation network that moves, frankly, about 10% of the people from northern New Jersey?
Yes, and we also had union representatives mocked when they came to speak on behalf of the unions that we have represented.
Okay, how many jobs would this bring to the area for New York Waterway if things go smoothly?
We have an existing maintenance force of about 40 people. Our company employs about 400 people. A good portion of them live in Hudson County.
Yeah, about half.
So
more than
it's they're good union, well-paying, well-benefited jobs. So the ability to make it safer for our employees is our highest priority. The facility that we have right now is in a tough situation. It needs to be relocated. It needs to be relocated soon. So new jobs, limited new job growth. It depends really on the growth of the ferry operation. But the reality is it's job preservation. And most of those are Hudson County jobs.
So on a different note, we've heard from City Hall that the fact that New York Waterway was going to be quote-unquote evicted from the Weehawken facility was misrepresented because you guys are still there. So I think a lot of people are not really clear on what the agreement is on that existing property that you guys have been using for a really long time and why, there was this notion out there that an eviction was forthcoming or already happened. So could you clarify what exactly that was about.
Well, we had a handshake arrangement with the owners of the upland, which allowed us to use maybe an acre and a half of upland for storage and parking. We've been asked to move. We have moved. Right now, we have no upland storage. We have no upland working area. So we really rely on everything that's floating in the water. That's our maintenance facility today. So we are gone. We are off the upland. We did not own it. We haven't owned it for over a decade. And frankly, you know, the transfer of that land is what really helped the ferry survive at a time when we were struggling post 9/11.
So finally,
and we're talking about the other work doc we're talking about, our existing one. I brought another group of journalists down to see it, and they were actually shocked how small it was. So, I mean, if people would take time to look at these things and kind of really get some, you know, some insight and some knowledge on what the situation is down there, it's fine, but it's also very small and it needs to be expanded. Sorry.
So finally, the governor has been asked by the mayor and others on many occasions to intervene in this matter, and wants him to halt the project. Obviously, that hasn't happened. In your guys' conversations with the governor, I mean, what kind of message are you getting, if any?
Well, we have conversations with many people in Trenton. We believe that the governor will make the right choice, and that choice is for the greater population of New Jersey, not a handful of affluent condo owners that happen to live a few hundred feet away from a proposed maintenance facility. So we believe that ultimately the right decision will be made in Trenton, and we think that's the one that will support us.